My name is Manny. It's really nice to meet you. Congratulations on the film. How excited are you to get to share this film now with the world?
Oh, well, I'm very excited. I think you may know that this movie has taken like 4 years to make it to theaters because we shot this during COVID, during quarantine, and it got delayed a couple of times along the way. And now it's finally coming out. So I'm like, I've made a couple of projects since this one. So I'm very excited to finally share this.
What a great film, The Unbreakable Boy. That's what we're talking about. Um, I have a few friends who live this way in the sense that their child is autistic, and I've seen their struggles firsthand. I've seen the patients. I've seen the big heart. I've seen the struggles. And so it touched me very, it was very close to me to be able to see a film that touches on this and sees the humanity behind um, everything that these parents have to go through, what the child goes through, and just the struggles. And because we always see, yeah, the autistic child is the spotlight, like it should be. But not a lot of times do we see a lot of love toward the parents who were the ones who take care of them. And I think
But,
that
I
both.
think it's actually it's so many people are touched by autism and by people who are neurodiverse and this was a wonderful opportunity. And I mean, in this particular case, Austin also has osteogenesis imperfecta, which is a brittle bone disease. So he's a very unique kid, one in a billion, they say. And you know, being a parent in general is a challenging thing, right? And for this particular couple, they didn't know each other that well when they got pregnant. They were learning that their child had brittle bone and autism along the way, and so we get to explore, the challenges of being a parent, the challenges of having a child with autism, but also all of the joys, and really in the case of Scott, like the ways in which his child's worldview and his child's heart and spirit revived him and helped to heal him through his own struggles. And so, we wanted this to be a movie that was very unflinching and really honest. And I think sometimes we treat people with autism with like kid gloves and feel like we have to make them the special magical kid, and that's not Austin. He's troubled, but he's also filled with joy. And his parents are broken in their own ways, and they help each other, and they struggle together, and they heal together. And that's what I loved about it. It was a very honest story of a real family. It's a true story, and the book was extremely charming and just gave a lot of great material and great voice to explore. So I had a wonderful time making it, and I'm so proud to share it.
Now, did you have good communication with the author of the book? Because this is his experience, and how was that an impact for you?
Yeah, well, Scott Lorette, who co-authored the book, it's his true story and his family story. So they were very, very involved from the beginning. Peter Facinelli had brought this story to us. He's friends with them. He met them, read their book, loved their story, brought it to my company at Kingdom uh, and Lionsgate, and we read it and thought like, oh, well, this is an extraordinary story to tell and so charming. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Jojo Rabbit mixed with wonder, like because of the just this the whimsical point of view and the joy that Austin has. I thought it would be a really fun thing to tell the parent story as narrated by the child with autism, and the way that he sees the world gives such a unique voice to the film. And so, yeah, so it worked out perfectly. We needed a film to make during COVID that was small enough that we could shoot it with all the limitations of that time. And at the time, we were already partnered with Zach Levi, who was starring in the American Underdog film that we made. So he read it, and we said, "How would you like to play Scott?" And he just jumped right on board. So it all happened very quickly and was kind of magical, actually, to shoot it in 2020 in quarantine in Oklahoma with our little gang and our little bubble. And now 4 years later, we finally get to share it.
And it seems like he is the right person for the role. I really like the way that I can see him struggle, but also really root for him to get it all together and to see it transpire through the film was great.
Yeah, yeah, I love Zach, and I think he does a great job of being able to present with charm and levity, even his pain. And Zach does that very openly as a person as well. He's a great performer, but he's also really open about his own struggles. And I think he really related to playing a father who is struggling with his own issues, alcoholism and addiction, and feeling very often like he's just a bad parent, which any parent feels sometimes. And yet at the same time can be lifted up and redeemed by our own children, who can see us in ways sometimes we can't see ourselves. And at the end of the day, it's a story about gratitude and about making every day the best day of your life in real, honest ways. So I loved that message. I loved the spirit of it. And it's also just really charming and funny. And Zach's great with that.
Yeah, I think in particular, I like the way he was able to emote feelings in some of the scenes without necessarily having to say anything. He had
Yeah.
really good facial expressions and his body
And
just.
I will say too that Meghann Fahy, who plays his wife in this film, she's just she grounds him in such a wonderful way and brings so much heart to the film. They were a great combination, the two of them.
Yeah, great chemistry. I agree. This obviously the spotlight of it all would be Jacob Lavelle. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about working with him because I'm very, very curious as to, as a filmmaker, how do you work with him? He's also a child. Just working with children, I know in production is tough enough. Talk to me about that.
Well, by the way, we had to cast, Jacob plays Austin, at 13, but like we also had to have like three other Austins, like the baby and the newborn and the toddler and in the 8-year-old or 5-year-old. And so there were a lot of kids in this. But Jacob was just really, really special. What a find, because Austin himself is a 1 in a billion kid. He's got brittle bone disease and autism. We were never going to find someone that was exactly like him, but we needed to find someone who had his essence and his spirit and his heart. And Jacob, like the moment I saw his audition, I was smiling and I just was like, who's that kid? I think that's our guy. And you just hope that it's going to work out, right? That they can do all the things you need them to do. He's such a smart kid. He could memorize all of this dialogue he had to do. He repeats the Aaron Sorkin speech, Jack Nicholson speech from A Few Good Men. He nailed that. Uh, he's just the essence of him was wonderful and was a joy to work with. Everybody on set loved him. Such a great kid. So we were very grateful to find him because it's the Unbreakable Boy. You got to have a boy that can be the Unbreakable Boy, and so that worked out. Thank God that we found him.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to put him in because he has to shine, very, very bright and around already a great cast. So, kudos to you guys and to him for being able to get this done. That is my favorite part of the film when he stands up and does does that line.
You came in with the truth.
Yeah.
I know I was impressed that he did it because I wrote out a bunch of it and put it in the script form, but he went and learned the whole thing. He did even more than we anticipated. So he showed up and just did it over and over.
What are you hoping audiences take away from your film now that it's finally being released?
Honestly, my hope for this film is to share the message of gratitude. I mean, I think there's a lot in the world these days that it's sort of toxic and a lot that we can complain about and a lot that we like to attack each other about. But this is a movie that finds joy in very difficult circumstances and reminds us to celebrate every moment and every day. And so I'm thrilled to share that message. And I think it's a good one to remember, that even when we're struggling, there are things to be grateful for. And even in our brokenness, there's a lot of beauty to be found.
Yeah, in my personal experience, I have to 100% agree with you. In going with my own struggles, it was my daughter, my 5-year-old at the time, that kept me grounded. And luckily, I'm in a much better place. But yeah, those little moments throughout that time with her, yeah, and it's definitely something that is the essence of this film, like you just said, to being grateful. John, in filmmaking, uh, I feel like every project is a learning experience and just another part of your journey. What was your personal takeaway from the project that's going to stick with you?
Well, I mean, it's a story about family in so many ways, and I'll never forget the experience of making this movie. It happened during quarantine, and so COVID had just hit. I was locked up in my home with my family for 6 months, and then this movie brought me out of isolation and all the way to Oklahoma into a new family, which was the cast and crew that made this film. And no joke, it's been almost 5 years since we made this movie, and we still have a text thread with cast and crew together. We keep in touch all the time. So I gained another family by making this film. It was such a bonding experience. And so the idea of the gratitude that comes from the families that, that we're born into and the ones that we choose, I really got the gift of that on this experience.
And it's something that is translated on screen very, very well, which why The Unbreakable Boy is a must watch in theaters. John, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time. I appreciate getting to know you and to talk about this great film that I hope everybody enjoys.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it very much.
It was nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
your
you.
time.
Have a good one.